a disk. To show how this works, we're going to fill the entire plane with these triangles. Starting in the middle, just as with the crochet, things look pretty normal. But as you go farther out from the center, you get all this extra space, so you can fit more and more triangles. So they appear smaller, but they are actually the same size. Now, since the hyperbolic plane is infinite, you can keep adding triangles forever, and they all need to fit on the disk. So as you get closer to the edge, the triangles will appear smaller and smaller and smaller, infinitely smaller, never ending, and you can never quite reach the edge. This is known as the Poincaré disk model. Here, straight lines are arcs of circles that intersect the disk at 90 degrees. And just like on our original shape, a straight line down the middle appears straight, while straight lines next to it appear to curve away. What's remarkable is that Bolyai didn't have a model of hyperbolic geometry yet. He was just drawing Euclidean triangles with the assumption that Euclid's fifth postulate didn't hold. And while Bolyai found that the behavior in hyperbolic geometry is very different than Euclid's, mathematically it seemed just as consistent. In 1823, the 20-year-old Janos wrote to his dad, "I have discovered such wonderful things that I was amazed. Out of nothing, I have created a strange new universe." So what would it actually be like to be inside that universe? It's a question that, thanks to Rémi Coulon and Henry Segerman, who has his own great YouTube channel, we can actually answer. Welcome to hyperbolic space. When I look at lines close to me, they seem pretty straight. But when I look off into the distance, well, those lines appear curved. But as I move closer and closer towards them, then they seem to straighten out. So all these lines are actually straight. Another thing to notice is that each of these corners is actually 90 degrees. But because there's so much extra space in this world, you can actually have 5 of these cubes sharing one edge. So instead of taking 4 right angle turns to get back to your original position, in this world, you have to take 5. It's a weird but fascinating world, and if you want to play around in it yourself, I'll put a link to the website in the description. But Bolyai had been doing more than just tackling ancient math mysteries. In his 20s, he joined the army, where he continued developing 2 of his other passions, playing the violin and dueling. He had mastered both, but with a sword in particular, he was unmatched. Perhaps because of his many talents, Bolyai grew arrogant and found it difficult to accept authority from his superiors. That made him hard to get along with. This reached a peak when, during one of his deployments, 13 cavalry officers from his garrison challenged him to a duel. Bolyai accepted their challenge on the condition that after every 2 duels, he could play for a little while on his violin. Bolyai fought each of them in succession, winning all 13 duels and leaving behind all his adversaries on the square. While Bolyai loved dueling, his first love was still mathematics. See, according to Euclid, you could have only one parallel line through a point, but Bolyai imagined a world where there could be more than one parallel line through that point. But how? Well, who said you needed to have a flat surface? On a surface that is curved like this, you can draw more than one line that is parallel to the original line. Wait a second, those lines don't look straight. Well, what makes straight lines special is that they're the shortest paths between 2 points. On this surface, those shortest paths just look bent because the surface is curved. Here's a more familiar example. Airplanes always try to fly the shortest path between 2 cities. They're basically flying in a straight line, but that line doesn't look straight on a map because the surface is curved. These shortest paths on curved surfaces are called geodesics. So, all these lines are straight, they just don't look it because the world Bolyai had imagined turned out to be curved. We now know this as hyperbolic geometry. Now, this shape is not the full hyperbolic plane, but it can teach us an important characteristic of it. 2 straight lines that seem to go in the same direction end up diverging. You know, when I used to think of the hyperbolic plane, I would just imagine it as one giant saddle. But that's not really what it is. The hyperbolic plane is much more like this piece of crocheting. So it starts out pretty flat and even in the middle, but as you move outwards, more and more fabric is created.